So now the recording is happening, and it will be uploaded because we try to also start our own resources online with ACAN Norway. And the chat box is open for questions. You can find it at the bottom of Zoom and just ask us anything, and the question can be taken also on the second part. In terms of timing, as I said, we try to do 1 hour. It's going to be 5 minutes presentation of ACAN Norway and like ACAN and ACAN Norway demolition campaign. And we have amazing guests tonight from Denmark who's really excited to hear what they have to say. And if you have questions, again, use the chat box. And so just before we kick off, a little bit refresh about what ACAN is, in case you don't know about this. So we're pleased to be hosting. It's actually our first digital event in the existing building group. We've been doing twice physical events. But as we saw the Danish discussion around moratorium on new construction, we really wanted to invite them over, as it's still not really there in Norway. And we're just wondering how it can be relevant for us. And as we got great minds from the industry presenting tonight, it's probably going to be a great evening. So I'm going to hand over to Lely now so she can introduce ACAN.
Hi, everyone. So ACAN is an open voluntary network of individual in the building environment industry. ACAN started in 2019 with a vision of how we could work as a collective of individuals in order to make rapid decisions and respond quickly to climate emergency. You can change the slides. ACAN has 3 main aims: decarbonize now, ecological regeneration, and cultural transformation. ACAN has now different branches in different countries, and ACAN Norway exists since 2022, thanks to Armel, Alexandra, and more. And in the next slide, you can see that we have 3 thematic groups: existing building, which is the group who organized this event tonight, natural materials, and circular economy.
And over to Alexandra.
Yes, and the existing buildings group works together with ACAN Sweden, Finland, Netherlands, Australia, and UK. And we are trying to make an international coalition around this topic. In Norway, our focus is now on the demolition atlas and events connected to this topic and promoting initiatives and projects that struggle with demolition as well. So the Demolition Atlas is an online platform. It's a project started in Switzerland by a group Countdown 2030. And after Switzerland, it was ACAN Sweden that adapted this, and then Norway as well. So the main goal of the Demolition Atlas is to raise awareness about the massive scale of building demolitions and their environmental, social, and cultural impacts. And when we talk about massive scale, it means, for example, 20,000 buildings per year in Norway. The statistic is quite scary. So the map, the demolition map or demolition atlas, it challenges the common practice of demolition and new construction as the default option. So its goal is to promote the preservation and reuse of existing buildings instead. And technically, it's an online map where individuals can contribute by entering the information about buildings that have been demolished, are currently threatened with demolition, or have been saved in a miraculous ways from demolition. It happens as well. That's the smallest group, but there are many buildings saved. So users can upload details such as location, function of the building, some historical significance, reasons for demolition, and even personal stories or memories related to the buildings. And it aims to provide a transparency about the demolition, because the official statistics on demolitions are often incomplete or very hard to access. So people are very surprised when we talk about this 20,000 number in Norway nobody almost believes, but it's true. So the collected data, it serves as a basis for a public discussion. We hope to open a discussion that is not only in the architectural society, but also outside. And in Switzerland, they really succeed with this. So we are hoping to get through. We had some public debates with politicians, with developers, and we had some cooperation with groups that are struggling with demolition in Norway. And yes, so that's a short story about our group.
And so we were very interested about the stop building, because some people in our groups were saying, okay, but if we want to stop demolishing, we should actually asking to stop building new buildings, because that's how we can reuse what we have. So when we saw a Byggestopbevægelsen, we were really interested. And we're very excited because tonight we have with us Signe Sand, please correct me for your name, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Great. And Signe is a co-founder of Byggestopbevægelsen in Denmark and architect in ERIK arkitekter in Copenhagen, working on research and sustainability projects, while 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is an architectural engineer and construction engineer with 3 years of international experience. And he's also a member of Byggestopbevægelsen, working with community organization, research, and knowledge sharing. So now, guys, the floor is yours. We're really interested to listen. Do you have any presentation or not?
Yes, we have a presentation. Let's see if I can.
I think you guys have to stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Share screen.
And then,
Okay. So now, can you see this? Let's see what they see. Nothing.
maybe try one screen share. New share.
Oh yes, we could see it now.
You could see it.
We could see it. It now disappeared.
But you have to do now.
Okay, I'll try again.
So
Screen.
yeah. Perfect. That works. Yes.
And you can see this. And if I click here, you can see the next slide.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us. We're really excited to have friendship movements through Scandinavia. So that's really nice. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think we'll be talking 15 minutes-ish. We will do our best. 𝗏𝗏𝗏, will you take time? Otherwise, stop us if we talk too long. But we'll start with a short timeline on where our movement comes from, the history behind our movement. And actually, the first stop on the timeline is a fun fact that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 found the other day, that actually we had a construction halt in Denmark in 1959. It had nothing to do with climate crisis. It was in order to arrange the construction sector. They made a halt, but it's really interesting that it's actually doable. It's a matter of political will. Then of course it's doable to make a halt if you want to. Then what's maybe a little bit missing on this timeline, now that I think of it, is it's everything that then happened between there and in July 2024, because of course there's been a huge debate in Denmark and the whole world, and also in the Danish construction sector about the climate crisis, the biodiversity crisis, resource crisis, and so on. And in Denmark, we've had this. We now have this regulation actually with thresholds for climate impact per square meter from new buildings. We also have had like debates on how to remove barriers to reuse materials, to use more biogen materials, stuff like that. But sort of the next step in this debate came last summer. There were like a loose debate about we also need to build less. We can't only build better per square meter. We also need to build fewer square meters in order to tackle this climate crisis. So there was some opinion pieces. Some of them talked about a Byggestopp building halls. Some used other words, but then there was this CEO from a Danish architectural studio, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏. The CEO 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 said in an interview that he thought it was a little bit too much with this Byggestopbevægelsen. And then I think it was my friend 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, she was like, that's a good name. That's what we need. We need a Byggestopbevægelsen. So we were a few people who got together over a beer, actually. That's how we do it in Denmark. And said, let's start a movement. So we didn't even really invent the term Byggestopp or the Byggestopbevægelse. We didn't really start the debate, but we thought that we really needed to formalize this into an actual movement so that the debate wouldn't just die with a few opinion pieces and that would be it. So here we are. We launched it in April at an event in Copenhagen, and we can get back to that, but with 200 people attending, and really, it was really nice. And yeah, so now we officially have a bevægelse, so that's really nice. I'll quickly tell you why we're doing this. Maybe I don't need to tell you, but basically we're overshooting our planetary boundaries worldwide. Not least the Danish construction sector is overshooting the planetary boundaries. In Denmark, the construction sector, buildings and building new buildings accounts for 30% of the Danish carbon emissions. So not only do we overshoot, but we also have a massive part of the responsibility for this crisis. Then there was this really great initiative a few years ago called Reduction Roadmap that tried to calculate based on the planetary boundaries and based on the total carbon budget for first for the world and then for Denmark, and then allocating the budget to the Danish construction sector to see how much carbon do we have per new square meter to build from. Like making an economical budget, they did it just with the carbon, and it showed it was in order to actually stay below what Denmark has promised in terms of the Paris Agreement. And maybe not to a very big surprise, we need to reduce the carbon footprint per square meter drastically. So I don't know if you can see the small numbers, but this was in 2020, and we needed to reduce it to almost zero before 2030. So there was a campaign to hit the target, because we have just adjusted our thresholds for the carbon footprint in the building regulations. We've just adjusted that. So that political debate, it was a big debate whether we should reach this target, and maybe as no big surprise either, we didn't. So at least we should reach the 5.8 target in 2025. And then we should lower it to almost zero in 2030, not almost, to zero. Yeah. And as you see on the graph here, the actual regulation, which is the line, that is where the Danish regulation is now. So it's the threshold now is 7.1 per square meter, and it's lowered a little bit over the years towards 5.8. you could argue right now it's not a massive overshoot between 5.8 and 7.1, but it is an overshoot, and it's going to be a massive overshoot as the years go by. So there's one simple conclusion from the fact that the regulation overshoots, and that is, if we cannot reach the target per square meter, we need to build fewer square meters. So this is the next pretty exciting piece of science, or a report that actually came out this year in March. This is a PhD program, but it's together with 3 different universities: the Danish Technical University, the Southern University of Denmark, and the 𝗏𝘂𝗃 University. And this PhD has calculated how many buildings, or how much can we keep building if we make this green transition everybody agrees on, if we use more bio-based materials, if we use more reused materials, and so on and so on. If we do these things, how much new buildings can we then build? And the result is that we can only build 20% of the current constructions in Denmark if we want to stay below the Paris Agreement thresholds. So a reduction on 80%, and if we don't use more bio-based materials in new buildings, we have to reduce even more. So you could say this is sad news, but it's also interesting, and it's really for us really important that we are backed up by the science, that this is not something we just suggest for fun. This is a necessity, and we need a movement to have a conversation about how to do this the right way. So that's where we start off, and I think 𝗏𝗏𝗀, if you want to continue.
Yeah. So after we realized we need this movement, it was before I became a member. Signe and a couple of other members started thinking about making a presence, and as you probably noticed, our main channel is LinkedIn. So a pretty good friend of ours developed this graphic identity to kind of try and make our posts recognizable online, and then we like to think he succeeded in it. These are just some of the slides from his guide, and we were experimenting for quite a while with AI art and stuff like that. I think it created definitely an identity for us on LinkedIn. Also images with a bit of earthy tones as well, and then actual posts. So we still do that. Actually, we are considering pretty deeply what to post about, what to try, and then as you said in your introduction of ACAN as well, to try to introduce general public into the discussion, because even though it's mostly architects and engineers and professionals in the industry who are talking about this, it affects everyone.
Can I just add to this picture? This is not even an AI generated picture.
Yeah,
this is a photo of some houses in Denmark last year.
Yeah, and these are summer houses, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So the irony, the better is the better. And then everything was kind of building up to that April, and we gave out invitations, and then Signe was kind enough to try and arrange it with ERIK, and she succeeded. And then a few days before the launch would start, we were like, there's over 200 people. And they registered, and we had to house 200 people. We were like, nah, 200 is not going to come. That's a lot. But they actually came. Around 200 people were on the lounge. We had quite a few talks, and we all agreed afterwards that you could feel the energy. You could feel people came with a sense of relief that they finally have a spot where they can talk about these kinds of things without being, I'm not going to say scared, I maybe mean it a bit, but they usually are a bit reluctant to talk about these things that publicly. And yeah, we had a proper Danish public speaking event with a basket to stand on, and a makeshift presentation panel. Yeah, just briefly about the talks. We had members of the Green Youth Movement in Denmark here. They were talking about their manifesto on what the green future could look like, and they had a piece in there about what future housing could look like and future construction industry. And then one of the founders, 𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗃, she presented about her project, which is about basically splitting or sharing single-family homes. It's the most popular housing form in Denmark. So she figured we live in 2 big spaces. Let's try to split those. She succeeded herself. She's living in such a home herself, so she wanted to share the knowledge. Then we had a discussion, and not a discussion, I would say a conversation between a recent graduate from Aarhus School of Architecture and Søren Nielsen, who's a professor there, about how does he, as a senior, let's say, looks at the industry, and then how we should tackle it, and then what a recent graduate feels as someone who's just entering. And then 𝗏𝗏𝗏, the visual identity creator, and his friend and colleague Dani, who are also a big deal of the reduction roadmap we just mentioned, presented about their experiences from making the reduction roadmap as a movement, which was signed by, I think the numbers is in thousands signees for the campaign they had. A lot.
At least. Maybe 1,000, but at least 600 that I know of, at least 600 companies, not persons, but companies signed up for the 5.8 goal.
And then we made this experiment where we put a post box and we were like, try to explain why you support this. Why do you think this could be a good idea? And then we have a little ongoing project right now. We're trying to have this as an online platform where people can continue doing the same thing just online. So yeah, we're going to try to accomplish that by the end of the year, hopefully. And this is a picture from the other angle. This is actually the moment where we had like a common singing, 𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
That was quite cool. And the song was Go Away From Our Neighborhood.
It's an old, again, it's an old song from the 70s about how terrible new constructions are, basically. Yeah. So yeah, we thought it was
quite appropriate, yeah. And then the aftermath was basically, they all reported. We had quite a lot of press coverage of the actual launch event. But the other thing that happened is Byggestopp started being covered more in panels, in talks, in people just started putting in opinion pieces from both sides of the argument, and the LinkedIn page grew by a good 1,000 followers in maybe less than a month, I would say. Signe was contributing quite a lot. As you see, the podcasts being released. I think there's one still to be released from like a completely third-party person who did a podcast with some of our members. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 talking about her experience with splitting the single-family homes. Dansk Industri covering with their own pitches to the idea and what they think it's wrong about it. Us again replying, and so on and so forth. I think the most important conclusion from this is that we started a lot bigger discussion in the media about the topic and how we should actually tackle the climate crisis. And then, apart from 200 people applying to be on the launch, around 90 plus, the number is still growing. They applied to contribute, to actually be a part of the movement, to participate in the activities, or just to donate or whatever. So we needed a new structure. So this was just to cover how I would say we are succeeding in creating this new structure around working groups. people. We have a couple of people in each working group who are working with the topics you can see here, and I think it's quite important that I would say 80 to 90% of us in the movement are new to participating in the movement. So we're doing it for the first time, and then we notice there's a lot of people are being reluctant because they don't have that much experience in it. But we figured out like nobody has, so let's just wing it and basically learn by doing. A lot of us are not graphic designers, experts in graphic design, but we still try to pitch in whoever can to create. It's all voluntary, so we have to be smart about spreading our resources wisely. Not that many people have been doing for God knows how many years or months topics such as press coverage, but we try to bear with it and organize different collaborations with people in the other movements who might have more experience with it. But the most important thing is just to start and to drive the discussions, because it's always when you have like this big community of non-organized opinions, and so you always think like something's going to happen, people are going to realize it might it might not, but when you actually do it, you feel a lot better. So just do it. Not to promote Nike here, or Nike, but just do it. And that's about it from us as far as this is the last slide. So
thank you.
We're in time, a bit over 15, but less than 20.
Perfect. I think it was amazing. Thank you so much. There is people asking if you can share the link to the PhD study in the chat.
Yes, of course.
But it was really amazing. And so now the idea is that we can interact with you guys. And I think there is already one question that Alexandra had from ACAN Norway, and then the floor is open to the rest of the participants.
Now, I was just wondering how to explain the idea to architects, especially when we are struggling with work here now in Norway. We have many people that are without work. So as for me, I understand that one door closes, another door opens, but it really needs a paradigm shift in our job, right? Architect is all about designing new buildings. So how do you make it? How can you explain it? Because we are having troubles to get to other architects, especially here in Norway. And especially if I can just mention, we are struggling with population growth, especially in Oslo, and our government has newly come with a plan of building 130,000 new apartments in 2030. It's just not clear if they meant it's going to be built in 5 years, but it's going to be planned. So this is like going totally in opposite direction with the political view and to what people are used to do. So that's question, how to do it.
Yeah, can I say something about that? I think first of all, it's important to say that this is not necessarily going to be very easy. And I think we in Denmark face, I would say, exactly the same problems as you just described. We have very many architects in Denmark. I think we're the country in the world with the second most architects per capita. So I think Italy is number one. So we have just permanent unemployed architects all over the place, always. Anyway, and Copenhagen is growing, and we have just decided to, or somebody has decided to build this massive island outside Copenhagen that's going to ruin the whole Baltic Sea and stuff like that. But I think actually the funny thing is that among architects, this is a very popular opinion. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm no expert in economics or in exactly what jobs, how the job market works or anything. I'm no expert, so I can't say this surely. But I think many architects has this feeling, and so do I, that there are going to be so many jobs in restoration and energy retrofit of the existing building mass, and there are so many architects who would honestly much rather do that. But the market is so focused on the new build that we use the energy in the wrong place. So actually, sometimes the fun thing is that we haven't faced so much like hates, or what is it, like
from the architects?
From the architect, no. Those are like our friends in this. It's weird, but they are. Yeah.
If I can pitch in a bit, I think we were talking about this quite a lot. It's a journey, and Denmark introducing, one of the first ones in the world, introducing carbon footprint regulations for the construction industry helped a lot. Like January 1st, 2023, that was the first threshold. That's when it was introduced. And from then, in just, 2.5 years now, the discussion completely changed from, people, when they play with the numbers, and I guess it's because we're all curious and try to be obsessed with, we are obsessed with the numbers and statistics. You want to go to the bottom of the issue. And a lot of them actually went through that journey and realized, like, there's no point in comparing two buildings to each other. We need to see how much the planet can bear. And when they did that, they noticed that the absolute sustainability piece of the picture is like, the clear conclusion is we really cannot continue the way we are. And I think, it's a bit of a what was earlier the egg or the chicken, but it's not a really clear answer to your question. But it's a journey that one has to go through, and the industry has to go through. And as Signe said, like, there's still people who think the opposite, but architects and engineers, especially people who are interested in the sustainability, young graduates, they see what's happening and they want to make the change. The inertia is coming from the other side of the really streamlined systems and business models that are really hard to stop.
Thank you. I think it was it's still a good answer, even though. So we have 2 more questions for now. First Max and then Jasmine.
Yes, as usual, I'm not quite sure if it's a question, but let's see. Yes, I'm Danish, living in Norway, and actually trying to import biogenic building materials. If nobody builds, I can't import. Hey! Anyway, my comment here is that Denmark is like 20 years ahead of Norway in these terms. When the first mention of building stop started, then the president of the Architects Union came out and explained, it was like a manner of speaking. It was not real, was how she interpreted it publicly up here. And there's some lobby organizations now trying to get emissions like in the Danish building standards. However, they're like about 8 times as high as the Danish rules, or 16 as high as a reduction roadmap. They don't include the foundation. So that's to say we are far off. I'm on LinkedIn. I read the Danish discourse, and I wish I was reading the Norwegian, but the Norwegians are not on LinkedIn. As far as I can see, the discourse is happening in the Architect Journal, very much online, and it has an editor who doesn't like this topic. So there's very little about it. You have to get through this eye of a needle. So what I'm saying here, asking about, mentioning, is how do we get the dialogue going in Norway when Norwegians are kind of too introverted to take it on LinkedIn? That was it.
Thank you, Max. Do you want to answer? I just muted you, sorry, because the sound was a bit...
You muted me.
No, I think she
the other group.
which is good. Thank you for that. No, it's a really difficult question. I mean, and I guess I'm not Norwegian enough to really know what as I see you wrote that in Denmark, of course, you just provide free beer and then they come. I mean, it's a really, I'm not sure we can answer the question, but I think, I mean, I think there's no other way around it than keeping on trying to get the attention around the subject. And I think also for us, something we really want to do is to turn around the whole narrative about who is responsible, what is the responsible standpoint, because that's something like, for example, Danish industry, like Dansk Industri, the big lobby organization, they want to act like they are responsible. They want to keep the jobs, they want to earn the money so we can have jobs and blah, blah, blah. And we say, no, you're having a party and leaving the bill for the next generation. We are the responsible. So I guess the idea is to, but also act and speak accordingly. So actually talk about the economics, talk about how insanely expensive this climate crisis is going to be, how irresponsible it is not to act. And keep talking about it, and also having the Byggestopp is the rational, responsible, right way. I don't know if that's an answer to your question.
I would say Byggestopp, I think it became like a platform for like-minded people to voice what they think without being it themselves, going on LinkedIn and saying stuff by themselves. Because it's not a question of, I think at least Norway, Denmark, whatever, I think there's quite a lot of risk, especially for young graduates who are trying to work with the renovations, transformations, you know, and raising their arm saying, I'm against new construction, when you're basically looking for work. But if you give them a platform such as Byggestopp, for example, or some kind of a movement where you can, quotation marks, hide behind and feel like a part of a bigger whole, it helps. And I think the fact that over 90 people applied to contribute to the movement and over 200 came to the launch, which was one of our concerns before the launch, is like, are people going to appear? Because, you know, if someone's going to see you there, you might not be raising your hand and saying, oh, I'm against new construction, but they're going to see it. Are they going to come? But a lot of them came, as you could see. It was an awesome crowd, awesome energy. And I think being a community, this definitely is a cliche, but it works. I think being a whole and a community helps against being an individual raising your voice against God knows how many millions of kroners and powerful individuals.
If I can add again, that was a much better answer than the one I gave. And I think there's always this misunderstanding of what other people think, because people don't act accordingly to the climate crisis, and therefore we assume that they are not as worried about it as I am. And therefore I'm probably a little bit weird if I start worrying too much. But it's really important to sometimes just declare that you have a movement, because there are a lot of worried people out there, and I'm sure there are in Norway as well.
And we see it, I mean, if I can add before giving to Jasmine, I mean, Arild Eriksen, that is an architect here in Oslo, actually just shared your movement, and that's how we created the LinkedIn event very fast, even though we didn't have your picture yet, because we were like, okay, he's a figure and he's raising the topic, like we need to have that in Norway, so that's how we made the LinkedIn event quite fast. Yeah. So it is happening, and we also get quite a lot of new members in Norway. We have 73, 74, every week we have 2-3 new people. Our issue is more like, how do we engage everyone, but that's another topic. So, but I guess the demolition is more attractive for now than stopping new construction, but we are, yeah, it has to come from Denmark so we can talk about it, and maybe from Sweden afterwards. Over to Jasmine in Netherlands.
Hello, sorry, I'm half eating, so I'm listening, and thank you so much for the presentation. And yeah, Just thank you for organizing this also on Norway. I had more of a question about what I wrote in the chat, which is we're in a similar situation as you in the Netherlands, and so actually the government wants to build 1 million new homes by 2030, I think, which is a hell of a lot, and we're a tiny country as well. And my question is more related to this internal struggle that I have, which is the benefits of natural material and sort of timber construction are many in terms of human health, carbon storage, forest management, reforestation even, and not only looking at timber, but also looking at earth or other sort of like plant materials, etc. And also in the Netherlands, there is this huge sort of like our gaze is turning towards France, for example, that has had like a massive spur in the use of natural materials, and that's seen as an amazing example, which it is. But my question is, and that's why I was also interested in this PhD study, do we have enough resources to keep building this much, even if we do it with natural materials? And I have been to a Timber Foundation course recently, and I was the only architect, but I was there with a biologist and a food farmer, with like another expert that looks at all the timber foundations that Amsterdam and Rotterdam and other places in the Netherlands are made of, etc. And they were huge advocates for sort of tying the use of more timber or timber in general with also ecological regeneration and more food farms, etc. So sometimes I'm on the side of, yes, we can build more, but we have to do it with natural materials, because then it can also help farmers, or it can help the land sort of regenerate and develop. And I mean, we can use all the benefits of natural materials, but then on the other side, I'm kind of worried that we almost don't have the time to sort of figure out how to do this or how to do things anew, and we do need at least a temporary pause before we figure out what the systems can be behind really moving towards a natural material construction wave, let's say. But then on the other side, we already have so much. I mean, if I just look outside my window, I'm in Rotterdam, and there's just there's just building materials. So I'm like, it's impossible that we cannot house these people in what we already have. But this is where my sort of conundrum is, between wanting to regenerate the land and work more with farmers and more with natural materials, and then on the other side saying, but maybe what we have is enough. Yeah, can you maybe say something about that?
And maybe just before you say something, we can also take the question of Anna, if it's related. We have circa 10 minutes left, so maybe we can just see if it's possible to combine both.
It was not quite the same. My question
you want to take it afterwards, then
I can take it after, it's better.
Okay, then first question, is it even possible to build more?
Well, the short answer is no, right?
I mean, it is possible, of course, but it's not a good thing to do just because it's possible.
Well, it's not possible to do it within the
exactly.
planetary boundaries. I'm a big fan of biogene materials, and in Denmark we are really bad at using them. It's getting better, so that's really good. But it's just so important to understand that the level we're building at is so unsustainable. And it's but I think you put it very, very beautifully, Jasmine. But no, we do not have the space for all. Something that sometimes happens in the Danish debate is that you start saying, oh, but if we build everything in wood, we don't have forest enough, which is technically true. And then there are people like, oh, so that's not good. Okay, but then we just need to build it in concrete then. But that's even worse. So what people don't understand is that we're building too much. But yeah,
I think overusing space is a quite strong argument here. Denmark, one of the main arguments we always push in Denmark is that Danes live their top 3 according to space per capita, like inhabitable space per capita. It's mid 50 square meters per person.
Yeah.
And as most of you probably know, not more than 30 is what literature is advising. And that's quite a lot. We were looking into numbers, and of course statistics tend to skew things a bit, but Copenhagen has a projected growth of another 100-ish thousand people until 2070, something like that. And if you spread the existing residential space in Copenhagen to 30 square meters per person or 25, you can already fit that amount of people already in the existing residential space. Of course, that part requires complete redesign of the systems, of the housing schemes, of everything. But physically speaking, at least in theory, according to the statistics, it's possible. You know, we might have to build a bit, but not a whole new island. I think I don't know about the statistics about in Netherlands or Germany or the other countries, but I think that speaks volumes about our overconsumption of everything. It's not just architecture, you know. Denmark has a strong culture of summer houses, which are basically unoccupied for 6 to 10 months a year, I would say.
Yeah, like the Norwegian hytte.
Yeah. You're basically, it's not legal to live in those buildings the whole year. There's quite a lot.
Norway, the average is 61 square meter per person, so
Yeah.
I think we won the competition.
Congratulations!
Well done.
Yes, and it's bigger than the average size. The average size of a summer house or winter house in Norway is bigger than average size of apartment in Ukraine.
Yeah.
The
So,
apartments that
on
there
that
used to
note-
be in Ukraine before, but that's about
We have a
the
little bit less than
overuse.
10 minutes left, and I was thinking we could try to get Anna question to close the session, maybe.
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Anna from ACAN Sweden. Just thanks for a great, impressive and inspiring presentation. It's really, really nice to hear. I'm very curious because you said it was not a problem to get architects on board, and it's so impressive you did this in such a short time and you gathered all these people to sign up and so on. But have you had any sort of critical voices from the industry, from developers or so on? And how, I mean, I guess by doing this, you really sort of, or I hope you are sort of shifting the window of the discussion, which is sort of a main thing, because I mean, we are really interested in how we can sort of adapt this or do something similar in Sweden. So I'm very curious what the reactions have been.
Nice opinion piece.
Yeah, there has been critical voices from the industry, and actually I would say that's a positive thing. It's because then they take us actually serious, and they debate it, and that's what we want. We want the debate. Of course, we also want the Byggestopp to happen, but the debate is very much out there, and I think I'm actually positively surprised that we've had so much goodwill. We felt so much goodwill from especially the architects, but from the construction sector. It's mainly the usual suspects in the Danish industry organization that are very critical. Also, the politicians are probably very hesitant, but there's actually one political party that has just proposed this. The Green Party Alternative in Denmark has just proposed to do this.
Wow.
So now the debate is also in the political area. And I mean, we don't have the Byggestopp in the building hall in Denmark yet. So I cannot guarantee that our movement will be a success. But I mean, I think we should continue this discussion somehow, because I'm sure that also we have some questions for that demolition map you have. We want to hear more about that, and we want to hear more about what you're doing. So I think it would be really, really nice if we can continue this conversation, because I'm sure you can do this in Norway and Sweden as well. I'm sure you can.
And Netherlands and everywhere.
Netherlands and Germany and yeah.
Is there any other country?
Yeah, go for it, Anna.
Is there any other country that has adopted the Byggestopp yet?
Probably not. No.
Not that I know of.
No.
And maybe a very, very last question, but we have 5 minutes and it's very heavy, from Tom, saying that, wondering, it's in the chat, many thanks for the talk. I'm wondering about the political angle or agency within this debate. These ideas of consuming less are not always attractive to people who maybe feel that their consumption is already limited by cost of living. In the UK and maybe across Europe, we've seen people turning to the far right as a result, who are trying to smash the consensus on necessity or decarbonization, for example. How do you sell this as a political idea against the backdrop or perceived economic decline and the rise of populism?
Can I take that one? I think you can say it's populism, but I would argue that, you know, there's no politics, there's no homes, there's no economy if we mess up the environment. And I think the political parties in general, majority of them are more or less capitalistic in their views. They are misunderstanding, on purpose or not, the dependencies between the 3 pillars of sustainability. You know, we are here because of the environment, and the economy is here because of us, the society, not the other way around. They might be codependent, but I think it's quite obvious which one is the most important. So I agree it's hard, and I understand that they're trying to make a structured approach to it. But if you ask anyone socially challenged, financially challenged, would they be up for a well-shared residential spaces, affordable, that's not gonna affect the environment in a negative way? I think they would agree. It's just a matter of framing that argument. Right now, they're framing it as, oh, you're gonna decline the economy. The people who are already without the roof above their heads are gonna lose the jobs, and so on and so forth. I think that's not what's gonna happen. You know, if anything, focusing on renovations and transformations of existing buildings, it's more labor intensive but less material intensive. So we're going to increase the jobs, because you can't really come with a huge truck and just Lego style pop the concrete elements into place with 3 people on the construction site. You need 5 people to come in to make a pre-audit, to make the audit of the existing state, to selectively deconstruct, reuse the materials. It's a lot more labor. It's going to be a lot better for small and medium companies that are tradespeople, craftsmen. Those are the people who need more work and more money. And I think that's the way we should frame it. Yeah.
I agree, Tomislav, but I think also there is a fair point about the populism, the right populism, that is really hard to target only with facts. Yeah. It doesn't matter how right we are. Yeah, but I think, even though from my point of view, it's really depressing that the far right is gaining more influence all over the world. I have a slight hope that Donald Trump will actually do something positive in the way of framing far right people as something, or nationalists as something a little bit too crazy that actually doesn't work. I don't know. That's just my naive hope. But I think also something, while we look at the far right growing, we also really need to remember how many people in the entire world, in every single country, that are actually deeply worried about the environment. And I think, I don't remember the statistics completely, but I think it's like 90% of the population in any country, they think that their country should do more for the climate crisis and more for the environment. So I think it's just important to remember that there are so many people out there that actually agree, that just doesn't actually actively go to the street and protest, but actually agree and actually worry about the children.
I think it was a very positive note to end that meeting. Thank you so much. And we definitely need a second round, I think, and we can see how we do it. Maybe a second round close together, and then a second round with open again, because we need a discussion in Norway. And in Norway, we're thinking about maybe trying to get a debate in the autumn about it. We were in contact with the local association, so we definitely need some of your input.
It was very motivating. Like you used a quote from Aristotle that we need to learn the things by doing them. So I think we can, by the end, mention another philosopher from Sweden, to be more in Scandinavia. Her name is 𝗵𝗂𝗲 𝗦𝗂𝗃. I have never tried it before, so I think I should definitely be able to do it. So that can be a motivational thing for our movement.
Oh, great.
Thank you so much again. And yeah, if you have any resources that we can use in the ACAN groups, just send us in the emails thread.
If we can take it afterwards, just send us a list of participants or something. I'm gonna send out I can send out the PhD link and other resources that might be useful for stuff we were talking about and our questions.
Yeah.
And your questions.
I'm going to stop the recording now, and if anyone wants something, they can just write in the chat their email, and then I can, otherwise we will just share it in the international ACAN thread also.
Yeah.